the economic dislocation. It's just people being anxious and not knowing what's going on. So I get on a radio station usually one or another every morning about 6 o'clock, and then I'm on every morning on CP24 at 6:30, and then I go to the office and we start a day of teleconferences now for the emergency command group at 7 o'clock, and then again at 8 o'clock, just going down every detail of every person that's sick and every homeless person that needs to be cared for and every food package that needs to be delivered to the elderly. And then the rest of the day after that consists of detailed meetings looking at the city's financial picture, some of the labor discussions we've been having to try and make sure that those who aren't fully occupied are treated fairly, but that we redeploy as many city people as we can. And then, on through the day. And then I pretty much, at 3:45 every day, we have a daily update news conference for the public to go through what's going on in the city. And then I'm on the rush every day at 5:30, again, answering questions. And at night, generally have one of these kind of telephone town halls. We did this week. We did ones with the Jewish community. We did ones with Toronto's federal MPs. I met with all of them virtually so that we can discuss their concerns, and on it goes. And sort of, then I watch the news late at night and go to sleep and start over again the next day. And it pretty much goes every day, 7 days, but that's fine. I mean, that's the nature of this job. You know that. You do the same thing.
That's so, well, not to the same extent, but yeah, it is a 7-day-a-week gig. When this first happened, I sort of thought for a brief moment that we might be less busy because you don't have the council, the committee stuff going on, I don't have the public meetings at night. But I find as we've all shifted online and working remotely, it means you're pretty much always working because you're working from home. So you're really always able to do that. So I think it's still very busy. It's just the day looks a little bit different than it used to.
I'm the same as you. I as you know, I try to go to on weekends, 6-7 events in a day, and I try to do a couple each evening during the week. And of course, now none of us are going to those events because they're not happening. But there's a lot of these virtual things going on. And, I was out to only the second time I think I've been out of the City Hall building or my own place this afternoon to give some meals. The Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, a great company that owns, of course, the Raptors, the Leafs, and Toronto FC, and so on. They are doing 10,000 meals a day being given to hospital workers and to other people who are undernourished. And so we went out with Premier Ford and myself to the Scarborough Health Network to hand out a few of those meals. That's, I think, the second time I've been out to a sort of public type event in months because we're asking people to stay home, and I'm trying to do the same myself. But I think something like that was really worth doing to be able to have a chance myself to thank the hospital workers, as is the case with the Michael Garron Hospital, which is really sort of a community hospital in the area that you serve. But I think we're all still busy, and there's lots of people emailing, as you know, with concerns they have, anxieties they have, some complaints, which is fine. But by and large, we're just trying to help people get through this. They're cooped up with their kids, they're cooped up with their dog, they're cooped up themselves working from home. Some people have lost their jobs, they're worried about their business if they have one, and so there's a lot of things to try and support people on, and we're trying our very best, as you know, because you're a big part of this too. I should say, by the way, as Brad, not only being an avid cyclist, he has taken a real keen interest in small business. As you know, at the end of the day, the biggest victims of this, besides the health victims, the biggest sort of non-human victims will be small businesses, and we're trying to make sure there are as few as possible that don't survive. The key has been to sort of get them help to have them be able to hang on until this thing is over and we open the city back up, which we hope will happen soon. And the Brad has been instrumental in making sure that the city has done a number of things, and so has the province and the federal government. He's been very helpful to me because I've been lobbying the federal government and the provincial government basically nonstop. And by the way, they've answered.
Yeah.
Your MP, who I think is part of this, Nathaniel Erskine Smith, has been terrific at helping us to get some of these programs for people and for businesses to keep them going during the shutdown.
Well, it's a fantastic announcement this afternoon, and I've already heard from a lot of the small businesses. We sent an email communicating that. For those on the line, the federal government and the provincial government announced that they'll be making some big supports on the rent piece for businesses, which is the thing that I've been hearing most about. So it's amazing. Despite all of us, being physically apart, we're seeing Toronto come together in a really unique and special way. And I was wondering, I see it here at Beaches East York all the time. If you had examples or things that you've seen in your experience of stories of Torontonians showing resilience and resolve during this crisis.
Oh, Brad.
Probably thousands of examples.
I can give you a couple, though. There's a woman by the name of Rose, and I only know because somebody else wrote into my office about her, and she works in a grocery store, and she got a call from a person who wanted some carnation milk, of all things, this dried milk or whatever they call it, the carnation milk. And they said, well, we don't have any Chicago 3 stores. She finally found a fourth store. And they said they had it. And the woman who was looking for it, Rose, said that she didn't know how she was going to get hold of it. So the person from the store actually brought a case of it to her house. Totally unpaid, just said she'd do it and did it on the kind of honor system. This is going on. There's hundreds of volunteers signed up to work at the food banks. There are people that are helping the elderly. We've got these tree phones, as you know, going on where you, phone trees they call it, where you, call, people call other people who call other people to look after seniors who are by themselves. We've got many volunteers helping the Red Cross deliver food hampers to older people. So it's fantastic. I mean, what has gone on in the city, just like with the tragic Yonge Street van attack, the second anniversary was yesterday, people came forward and just supported each other, and that's been the good news story, if there is any such thing, out of this whole nightmare we've all been through.
I think in situations where we're facing the worst of times, we see the resilience and the resolve, and it brings out the best of this city and our community, and really the province and the country as a whole. So it's very inspiring. Same thing. There's so many stories of people making that little special difference to help vulnerable, help folks who are in need, and doing it in really personal, thoughtful ways. And I find that the stories are heartbreaking, but they're also so heartwarming. It's been really wonderful.
And Brad, people should be reminded of the fact those foundational values that lead to that kind of behavior are still there in the city, notwithstanding all the trauma we've been through. And the other thing they should remember is, when this is all over and done with, and I can assure you that nobody's waiting a moment longer than necessary for our health to open things back up. We're doing the planning. We just have to sort of get the right date that doesn't put people's health at risk going forward. But I can tell you, when we open up again, we will still be a top 10 financial center. We will still be a film capital in the world. We will still be one of the 10 most livable cities in the world, and on the list goes. So the greatness of Toronto will still be there. We just got to build it back up a bit, and that's why we're doing such careful work on the recovery planning. And with your help, because Brad's been an active member of that group. And I believe we're going to have a good plan that's going to get us back in business, back enjoying the city, and that, it's going to take a while to get back to normal, whatever that is. But I just think that we're in good shape. We're well positioned, and people should just have hope that if they put up with a few more, weekends of this misery where they're asked to stay home and not be out very much and not see very many other people, that there will be a big dividend for that, which is a strong recovery and a healthy recovery, so we don't have a relapse and be back this fall, closed down again. Nobody wants that, starting with me, but through every single person watching and all the people biking, and nobody wants that. Nobody.
Right. Well, that's a good segue, Mayor. I wanted to ask you, in the few minutes that you have in the day where you're not wearing your mayor's cap, what are you doing to stay active during the pandemic? And you got any tips to help folks get through the isolation and the days at home?
Brad, somebody like you would hardly disapprove of my answer to the question about what I'm doing to stay active, because the most I do is I go to a lot of meetings and I stand up and down out of chairs, and I have to go and set up this iPad to do Zoom teleconferences. I'm not being very active, and I haven't been out for walks very much. Initially, I was in self-isolation because I came back from England where I was overselling Toronto, and I couldn't go out. I couldn't even go on my condo building elevator because I was not allowed to. So I had 2 weeks of completely sedentary behavior, although I was doing some of my exercises because I had some surgery on my leg and I could do those exercises, but they're not stressful the way what you're doing now. So I've got to get back to that. Now, interestingly enough, I was on this sort of low-carb diet, so I have over the last 3 or 4 months lost 25 pounds, which I sort of could well do with
that's
the
pretty
losing.
Significant.
And so, so that's good. So it probably means that the raw material product we're working with here is better than it was 6 months ago. And, I just find people being involved in all these teleconferences avoids the loneliness of isolation. I can see how people, that are all by themselves and don't have to be on 12 teleconferences a day and interviews and things like this could get lonely. And it's a worry for me. It's why we've set up, by the way, for people watching, 211 is the number you call. If you need, there's all kinds of mental health programs, and they'll transfer you directly to somebody who can give you help if you're not feeling well in that sense. But in my case, I've had some family and friends that have kept me going and keep me, sort of buoyant and happy and stay in touch. And so that plus the job is enough to have me not worry ever about either being bored, no chance of that, or about being lonely. I don't get lonely, and I go do my shopping once a week, which is the only thing we're allowed to do now, of course. And I see a few people then, but they're mostly strangers, but they're very kind.
Well, you're flexing the brain muscle all the time, so
I hope so.
Yeah, working
Brad,
hard.
I'm going to say a fit guy like you told me that it was okay for me to say I'm making great use of my brain muscle. That's really good. That's a wonderful excuse. Best I've ever heard.
Very good. So, and you know what? I think there's a lot of folks on this call that you know, and you know, if you're interested in getting a bike or a trainer for your office, something to spin the legs out, I'm sure we can help you out with that.
We have a new one in the family, Brad. I think, in fact, two new ones. One of my kids who lives just outside of your ward bought a Peloton, and then Barb, my wife, bought one as well. As I understand, she's living elsewhere at the cottage, just to be sort of away from me and the germs I might bring back into the condo here. But so I think we have two new bicycles. But you probably tell me those are not real ones because they are not up to snuff.
You're moving the legs. It's all good. We'll get you back in the saddle on the other side of all this. And you know what? Everyone on the call here, the 400 participants, you know, thank you for your leadership. It really is world class. It's great to have you at the helm, and you know, we're getting through this as a city. Yeah.
I think I'm coming back to see you tomorrow, and I thank you for doing this. Did Catherine check with you to see if your life insurance is all paid up?
We haven't had that conversation yet, but you know what? We're gonna just take it easy. I got a lot of friends here that are gonna help me get through this. Appreciate your kind remarks and your leadership. And
good luck with what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing. And I'll make that donation because I want to make sure you get your goal right over the top. And be careful with yourself. And we'll see you for sure about 24 hours from now, and I know you'll just be ready to go for another 24.
Yeah, right. Beautiful. Thanks, Mayor. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Brad. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. Fantastic. Well, that was great to hear from Mayor Tory. He, you know, just incidentally, I obviously, you know, get to work with him, and I've never met somebody who works such long hours or works so hard. It's impressive. If we could get him on a bike, I think he's got a real future in endurance sports because, you know, the guy's got a lot of resolve, a lot of endurance. You just got to channel that into the bicycle. So I want to jump over to, we've got Sarah Downey, CEO of Michael Garron Hospital, who is joining us. We're just bringing her off mute. I'm going to put her on spotlight. And Sarah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, and I can see you biking hard, Brad, and everybody else. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm trying not to bike too hard yet, but I've got a lot of friends around me, and the neat thing about Zwift, this virtual platform, is, you know, we can experience a draft just like you do in real life, so you get the slipstream, you know, some of the benefit of riding in a group. And we got tons of folks out there tonight. We're going to hopefully stay with us and go the whole way through the 24 hours. So it's really fantastic. How have you been doing? Are you still at the office?
I'm still at the office.
Okay.
COVID doesn't take the night off.
Right.
But mercifully, I will soon be going home.
Very good. That's important
our best job
too.
to get ready to be ready for the week.
Wonderful. So, you know, we've had a huge uptake of support, and I think that speaks to, we had Jessica on the line earlier, a frontline healthcare worker, a nurse herself, who's taken up the Crush COVID challenge, but just a tremendous response from the community here, and I think that speaks to how much people value that work and appreciate that work of our frontline healthcare workers and the value of a community hospital like Michael Garron. Can you talk us through what it looks like at the hospital these days and how things are going with the COVID response?
Right. So, I mean, there's several aspects, I think, to this hospital's COVID response. For starters, we've spent a lot of the last 6 weeks getting ready in case there was a horrible volume of COVID. And by that, I mean figuring out how to double the size of our intensive care unit, figuring out how to increase our inpatient beds by 100, to increase our testing capacity for COVID-19, and to train a lot of staff and to be able to work in parts of the hospital that they might not have otherwise done had we really seen an influx of COVID cases like we certainly saw in countries like Italy and Spain and even as close as New York. So we sit here actually at about 60% occupancy. Ready, should there be a tidal wave of COVID cases. And we're tracking the provincial modeling very closely. We're tracking the modeling we're doing. And it appears for now that all the social distancing and the closing of schools and the closing of non-essential businesses have really helped for us not to have experienced to date the kind of influx that other countries have had. And so we kind of sit here on tender hooks with a lot of capacity ready to be put into place should it ever happen.
I thought it
The
was.
other thing we've had to do is to learn how to treat COVID. And so we've diagnosed close to 300 people in East Toronto, mostly from East Toronto, with COVID-19. We probably admitted, 30 patients with COVID. We currently have about 19 patients in hospital who have COVID. We've had 8 COVID deaths. And so this is a new disease. And so our clinicians, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, and others are really trying to develop some knowledge and expertise with this disease in case it's required of us beyond.
Right on.
Well, that's the concern, of course, is evolution and of the virus and perhaps a reoccurrence. So we have to be standing at the ready to respond. How's the staff morale over there? I know that a lot of people have been doing different things to demonstrate support for our frontline healthcare workers, the pot banging, our first responders have been doing drive-bys. How's everyone feeling? It must be really challenging.
Yeah, I think our staff are much like this community, right? I think at the start we felt a lot of fear because we didn't know what this disease is, and many of us who work in healthcare are deeply fearful of catching the disease or bringing it home to our families. And so I think at the start there was some amount of fear. And then I think because the staff here are so incredible, there's a fair amount of learning. So let's learn how to protect ourselves. Let's learn how to identify it. Let's learn how to contain it. Let's learn how to treat it. And then I kind of think we've moved more into a growth phase, which is, okay, we are starting to know our enemy. And let's help our community out. And so, we are working with a number of long-term care homes in East Toronto. We're working with shelters in East Toronto. Some of the spots where we are seeing COVID cases and people living with suffering from COVID. And we're sort of in this, let's get out a bit, given that we have some capacity to do that, and try to help our community be more resilient to COVID. But I have to say, we have felt the love of the East Toronto community through this. And, a quick example was we thought, what, we're going to put cloth masks on the faces of our visitors to the hospital, or for patients who go home from hospital who are still kind of vulnerable. Let's put some cloth masks on them. We started the 1,000 Masks campaign, and we launched to our community the challenge of sewing for us 1,000 masks a week, what we kind of thought we'd need. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that as of today, we've received about 40,000 masks.
That's incredible.
We feel the love. We feel the banging of the pots and the pans, which is fantastic. One day I was sitting in my office and I could hear all this honking, and I thought, oh my goodness, there must be a traffic jam on top. But it was Canada Post, when all their trucks that were circling the hospital, the 911 responders have done that. And so I think in so many ways we felt the love and support, including what you're doing, Brad, and everybody who's cycling. We have felt the love and support of our community that has really come together in a time of need to fight the common enemy for this COVID.
Well, and you folks are on the front line. I keep saying that, but it really is. All of us have to stay home. That's our job right now. But you're at the hospital right now. Thousands of people show up every day to go to work to put in those hours. How does an emergency response fund help in a situation like this, where there's just so much uncertainty of what we're facing on the road ahead?
Yeah, so I would say we haven't figured out exactly how we will need to spend it all. But our immediate thoughts on it have been to support staff to make their lives a little bit easier. And so we've offered to staff a travel fund to help offset the cost of traveling during COVID. Some people are driving that wouldn't otherwise drive because they're fearful of taking the TTC. So we have a staff travel fund we've set up. And the other thing we're trying to do to help our staff is to feed them. And Mayor Tory talked about the meals he gave out at Scarborough Health Network today. Yesterday we had a group here, Oliver and Bonatini and RBC, giving out meals to staff. And so we are trying to support our staff who are now working all day long in masks and personal protective equipment, which is even more tiring than it is under normal circumstances. A lot are working a lot of extra shifts many are getting retrained to gain some skills they haven't had in a while. So, we're feeding them because a meal goes a long way to keeping you happy, or to take a meal home to your family if you can do that. So we're really thinking for now, but some of the supports our staff need to keep their lives a little bit easier in this very complicated time, and to try to make it easier for them not to have to go to grocery stores and put themselves at risk at all. So that's our current thinking, but we are expecting a long fight against COVID, and it's just nice to know that we have a little wiggle room. If we need a new piece of equipment, if we have another idea to support staff, like whatever those things we'll have, this special fund that you've helped us with, and everybody that's riding, to know that, we have a little latitude to make, some allocations that will make the lives of our staff or of our patients a little bit easier.
Well, I can't agree more. I'm a big eater personally. I like to eat, and there's nothing better. I'll be eating a lot over the next 24 hours.
Yeah, you will have earned it.
Got the rice cakes all ready to go, but there's nothing better for morale than a nice hot meal. So that's fantastic. Are there any stories that you wanted to share from within the hospital or the community that you kind of look to that inspire you and continue to motivate you?
Yeah. I mean, bumping into a retired nurse the other day, somebody who retired from here a year ago, who chose to come back to work out of retirement to help us out in our time of need. She's an ICU nurse.
Wow.
And they're require a lot of special training. Right. And I thought, how amazing, right? I'm sure most people look forward to retirement and think, I'm going to kiss that employer goodbye and be done with it. But she came back to help us. Or a letter, a social worker works in the intensive care unit, forwarded to me yesterday a letter, an email that summarized a conversation she'd had with the husband of a patient who died of COVID in our ICU. And what he'd said to her when she called to check on him a couple of days after his wife had died, and we can't have visitors when you have COVID because the family members of all this spreading COVID as well, and they would break the rules actually to bring them out. So we had organized a number of telephone calls and FaceTime calls for him to say goodbye to his wife. And he emailed her to say, when this is all over, I do want to come to the hospital and meet the staff who took care of my wife and give you all a hug. Because as hard as this was, you helped us. You helped me say goodbye to my beloved wife. And I want to come and give you all a hug. And the difficult thing at times like this is we, of course, have to be very vigilant in protecting our hospital staff and other patients from COVID, which has meant a lot of restrictions from visitors. And so our staff have to be dependent, right? In addition to providing the medical care, they need to step extra time with patients because they can't see the way they might have, except a few months ago when we were fighting this. And so, all those little notes of things that people tell me, or a staff member who's actually a colleague whose wife came to the COVID assessment center, and how well she was treated when she was worried that she had COVID, and how quickly she got her test back, and that mercifully the result was negative. So there's so many stories that people tell me when I bump into them if I'm walking my dog very briefly and talk to them from across the street, as I know we've all gotten used to doing. But real stories of warmth and optimism in spite of the rainy skies that we see in the field.
That's exactly it. It's both heartbreaking, those experiences that people are going through, but also heartwarming, the response. It's been really incredible. Listen, I wanted to ask how, when we get through this on the other side, any plans to celebrate, any ideas on what that looks like?
I don't know, but it's got to involve a lot of hugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no social distancing.
Right. I think we're a ways away from that, but...
Yeah. I mean, you miss everybody. I mean, I'm fortunate. Fortunate in a way, I still have to come to work. Healthcare's moment to respond, and so there's a degree of normalcy in my day, which is still to get up early in the morning and get to But for many people, it is not that. And I do miss friends and interactions, and I miss hanging out with staff and less far away. And the masks on our faces every day make the interaction hard. So I just want to, I don't know, burn PPE, maybe, or share a meal, or give a hug, and spend time with people without being fearful. Just waiting for
Get back to some of those normal things, the soft touches in life that we all miss. Yeah,
Absolutely.
very good. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, Sarah. It means a lot that you're here with us. We've got nearly 400 participants, 40 teams. We're well over the $100,000 mark. The response has been amazing. And I think that's because everything you spoke to, people believe in that. They believe in the East, and so valuable to have that frontline healthcare worker response. We're so grateful.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody for all that you're doing. We feel your love at 825 Foxwell. We really do. Please be safe, though. We don't, if you need a break, please take it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Brad, for your leadership and support. I've loved the videos you've filmed from around the hospital and circulate them inside, and they really look their stuff. So thanks, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.
Very good. We're looking forward to seeing you on the other side, and we'll check in then. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Everybody.
Awesome. That was amazing. Those personal stories, I'll be asking those with all of our special guests because, it really, to me, I find that so impactful in the work that all we're doing, and we all have seen how this virus has impacted us in different ways, but it's the responses. It's the responses in the face of adversity that we all see in our day-to-day lives that is so inspiring for me. So, we're going to take, I just want to make note, we've got Barbie Rivers on the ride and in the Zoom chat as well. Barbie right now has a red beacon on her. She is leading the C-Pace. So if anyone's looking for that C-Pace ride, I don't think I'm going at a C-Pace, I think I'm going at a D-Pace, but that's where that's at. Look for the red beacon over Barbie. She's our ride leader from Trail Hustle Women's Program, and she's got the C-Pace rolling right now. So we're going to take a quick time out, and then we're going to come back with Mitze Mourinho, who is the president of the foundation, the Michael Garron Foundation, and we want to say hi to Mitze and see how she's doing. So back in a minute. go. Okay, everyone, just grabbing a, is everyone eating out there? Steve, are you eating? Gotta get some nutrition in you. Everyone, get some nutrition in you. Tim, have you had a bite yet? Long haul, the nutrition strategy is going to be really important. Very good. So, I want to welcome everyone back. I think it's the screen to the left. One more there. Yes, Mitzi. Nope, one's back to the right. And sorry, Mitzi, I'm just navigating and finding you here.
Well,
yeah, you're on mute. There we go. Okay, we're going to bring you into the spotlight.
hi, Brad. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm terrific. I'm terrific.
And who's this here with you?
So this is my daughter, Amelie. She needed to sort of get in on the action.
Amelie, thanks for joining us. Hi. Very good. Is this your first time live streaming? Yeah, first time on the live stream, but you're probably pretty good with the technology because the kids these days, right?
She's way better than me.
Yeah, this operation here has been a big lift for my capacity and Catherine's capacity. So we're getting by though. How are you holding up?
We're good. We're doing well. Yep, no complaints.
Well, I just want to introduce you. Mitzi is the president of the Michael Garron Hospital Foundation, and you've been involved with the hospital. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the MGH Foundation does and how you originally got involved.
Sure. So, interestingly enough, it was my 5-year anniversary this past Monday.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you very much. And I've had a great 5 years. It's been a great hospital and great community to get involved in. So it's just been a great experience. And so what does the foundation do? So the foundation exists to support the hospital. So whatever the hospital needs are, as I heard Sarah's comments a little while ago, whatever the hospital needs are, that's what the foundation really is there for, to support. So right now, during this really challenging time in healthcare, we went ahead and we launched this emergency response fund and pivoted really, and it's been phenomenal, the response that we've had from the community and it's been overwhelming and really terrific to be a part of.
That's fantastic. This obviously probably changes quite dramatically the stuff that was on the roster and the program for this year, right? You talk a little bit about how you're pivoting and how you're responding.
For sure. So, as you know, we're in a $100 million campaign to raise money to build a new hospital, build a new facility, and we were doing quite well at about $91 million on that 100, and then COVID struck, right? It turned the world upside down, and so we've foundation staff, my staff, we've been working remotely now. I guess this is the 5 we've haven't had to have over the last number of weeks. I think we're looking at that a little bit why we've done that, but we've just needed the whole hospital in terms of needs that we had. So Dr. Michael Warner, senior physicians, he put out a call for PPE drive, personal protective equipment drive, and so we took that on, and over the last 5 weeks we've just been responding to folks who have called us up, individuals and businesses who have themselves pivoted, tattoo parlors, dentist offices. We've had distilleries who have turned around and have started making hand sanitizer. People who had masks at their disposal who decided that they were going to give back. They didn't because they couldn't operate anyway. So they were going to give it back to the hospital. So we've been really, we've been the sort of the conduits, I guess, other thing that we've done, and I know that Sarah talked about this, is again, there was Dr. Jeff Powis, who is the head of our infectious disease department. He really had this vision to have everybody in East Toronto masked. And so he said, you know what, let's put a challenge out to the community to generate 1,000 cloth masks on a weekly basis. And within 2 weeks, there were 17,000 masks that had been delivered to the hospital. It was just phenomenal to see how people rallied and had some time. They obviously had some fabric and some elastic, and they pulled together, started making these cloth masks, and it's been wonderful to see our healthcare providers and our staff.
The photos and all the stories of folks pulling out the old sewing machine, dusting it off, and getting some cool fabric together and making the masks has been really, really, really wonderful to see. And some great patterns out there, like almost like a fashion item. You gotta get the latest and greatest, something cool and hip.
They have been. I mean, we were the first recipients of the really kind of cool Harry Rosen masks. So that was pretty neat. But I have to say, I think the equally as heartwarming has been the opportunity to deliver 30,000 masks to our community.
Right.
So while we've collected as many as we have, we've also been in a position to turn around and to provide over 30 masks to, communities such as Thornton Park and Flemington, Oak Ridge, and to our friends down the street at Wood Green. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience being part of that.
Awesome. Mitzi, can you just move the mic a little bit closer? Just getting a message, it's a little quiet. Or you're probably on a laptop or something, right? So,
I am.
Yeah, okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. That's great. So one of the things that I've always thought was really cool about Michael Garron Hospital Foundation is how integrated it is with the East End and the community. MGH is such a community hospital, and as a result, the foundation has always had a great tradition of bringing community together through events like this, but also kick the stigma, things that are really accessible, and so that people have that personal relationship with their community hospital. How did that start? It seems a little bit different than the way some of other foundations do things.
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of it has been organic, right? We've had tremendous support from many local businesses. As you know, as an example, the DeClutes, who are really strong supporters of ours, and they sponsor us throughout the year in many different ways. The Light Up the Beach event that happens at the end of the year, that Brad, you were there last year, and I'm sure in previous years, but certainly we were up on the stage together last year. So a lot of it is the community coming to us and saying, you know what, we're in your catchment. We want to give back. We want to do something. And so we've worked with people. We've got the Eisens, who, Toronto Honda Kia, again, one of our, they're a presenting sponsor for our Kick the Stigma event that you mentioned. These are folks who are business leaders in the community and really want to be able to, give back in some way. And we're just fortunate to have them in our hug, in our midst. And so it's just been a real pleasure working with these folks and working alongside them, and the response that they've had even during these times. We can't get together, we're not having events, but they're still reaching out to us and helping us out in different ways. We've had a company helping us out in doing delivery, so they have access to delivery trucks, so they've been helping us out doing pickup and delivery of personal protective equipment. So it's been just a real gathering of the community, if you will, where people have just wanted to be able to do something to contribute. We've had businesses and individuals who want to feed our frontline staff. So actually, I just got home a little while ago from being at the hospital delivering meals to our staff. And so we, over the next number of days, just as an example, between today and Monday, I think we're delivering 3,000 meals.
That's incredible.
Yeah, between today and tomorrow and then on Monday. So these are folks who have access to food, who are giving us gift cards. It's been terrific. So today I was down there and listening to the stories that the staff have to share with us around their day, and I'm the bravery, right? How brave they are to go into work every day, and what I think is, they're no different than you or I, right? So they have got to be anxious. They, I am sure, are scared for their safety, for the safety of their loved ones when they get home, and are worried for their patients. But yet they still do this. They go in day after day, and they give it their all. And it's the least that we can do is be there for them when they come out and be able to provide just a small thing like a meal that hopefully alleviates some of their stress for their day is quite rewarding.
Now, our lives have changed so much in the day-to-day, and I was wondering if you had any tips for folks out there, your hack on the physical distancing thing. And you've got kids at home, and so I'm sure there's school going on, and what does that look like, and any tips for folks on how to get through the day?
Oh my gosh. Well, it is. It's been different, we kind of set up shop in my dining room so that I can have my own little office there. I'm regularly on meetings, so I'm constant. It feels like they're half-hour meetings, and you're zooming in and out, and you're on telephone calls. So, but I have been pretty good about the self-distancing. I have to say, I need to get out a little bit more for walks. Supporting local businesses, I would say, that's sort of
huge.
What we've been trying to do. And then, we've also got a couple of dogs, so getting out with the dogs, and it's a good excuse to get out and get some fresh air, chatting with friends, just keeping in touch with people. And like I said, I'm going into the hospital about 3 or 4 days during the course of the week just to do the meal deliveries. And so that's been nice to see some of my staff and some of the staff at the hospital.
I don't know if this has been the case for everyone on the call out there, but I actually find I'm reconnecting with people probably more frequently, probably more in line with what I should be doing, because it's so much time on the phone and Zoom calls. We had like a high school reunion call a couple weeks back with friends I hadn't seen, frankly, for a couple years, and that was really cool. So although we're physically apart, we are finding new ways to stay connected, and I think that's a bit of the silver lining in all this.
You know what? Absolutely. And some of the stories that I've had, conversations that I've had with people I've never met before, and they're just such lovely stories about their connection with the East End or their connection with Michael Garron, and they're picking up the phone and saying, you know what, I wanted to do something, I've meant to call, and I've meant to make a donation, or just get reconnected, and so I'd like to do it now. Now seems like the right time, and so just hearing their stories has been, again, really inspiring, and I just can't wait for us to be on the other end of this so that we can have a big party. We don't have to worry about whether the number is 50 or 300 or what it is, but we can have a big party, and we can all celebrate and get together and have a good
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Mitze, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and all the work that you do with the foundation. It's so transformative and important. Everyone's really grateful. I think the response that you see to the Crush COVID campaign speaks to that. So thank you for all the work you do, and we'll check in and see you soon.
Well, thank you very much, Brad, to you, to all the riders today. I'll be watching you for the next number of hours. I can't commit to overnight, but I'll be watching you. Thank you so much for really making this a priority for you, and for all the riders, for all the donors. We really, really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough. Good luck, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Very good. We'll see you then, Mitzi. Thanks.